good evening. I want to say before we start, I used to really like Stuart Miller. That was like until Monday when I got a text saying, Frank, I'm in trouble, I have to go to New York, I have a big meeting to go to and I can't make it Thursday night. Could you stand in? And I thought, yeah. But he hadn't written a presentation, so I'm trying to figure out what was in his mind when he thought of this really interesting title that he's given me, which is Mucking Around Makes Markets. So you'll get my version on this and not his. So just to start off, I thought I'd start with a quote from Albert Einstein, and in a really, really cheeky way, I'd change it. Yeah, and I thought that, I think Einstein was kind of right. Imagination is more important than knowledge, but we do need to experiment all the time. And I think that's really the exciting bit, is when you can take a bit of imagination, a bit of experimentation, and try some new things and see how they work. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you about tonight. So I'm going to just talk about a few general points, and then I'd like to tell you a story about from my experience. I'd like to tell you why some very smart people spent a lot of time telling me I was very stupid, and how we actually found a way to do something that, with relatively little effort, would deliver a better, faster, cheaper solution for our clients by just thinking outside the box. That point Anna made about a paradigm shift. So we'll do that in a second. Before I do, I'd like to hear from you and just get a feeling for where you are in terms of the kind of innovation stakes. How many people in the room, just show of hands, kind of changed their business model in some way over the last 24 months? Okay, quite a lot of people. Okay, quite a lot of the audience, good. And in terms of product innovation, how many people would have come up with a new product or changed a product, done something different with a product? Show of hands. Well, that's usually quite kind of equal number there. So of those people who made the changes, how many of those changes, those things you did, those adaptations, whatever they were, came from a kind of moment of blinding inspiration? Any? Few? A little bit? Sort of, but not as many. Not as many. So, where the hell did the rest of them come from? Anybody want to tell, share, where did your inspirations come from? Rob?
Well, in my case, I work in an environment that is recently, or has been regulated, and the regulations have changed. I'm in the legal profession, and most of the legal profession hasn't recognised the changes that are coming about. The big changes are allowing non-lawyers to own law firms.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge potential that arises from that, and we're in the business of changing our model and changing our product to reflect that, and to have investors going into it.
Okay, so that's like an outside influence.
An outside influence, but it has to be said the main player, the founder of it, had the inspiration as well to recognise that this was an opportunity quite early on.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Sir?
It was more a case of a moment of realisation that what we were doing wasn't going to do what we needed it to do.
Okay.
So that forced a conscious brainstorming session to come up with an alternative that would do it.
Okay. Alison, your turn?
I met some young people on a skiing holiday, and they talked about what they were doing for a hobby, and eventually I thought of doing something similar.
Brilliant. Okay. Last person, somebody else? In the back?
Yeah, I work with communications technology, so there's been massive changes in that in mobile over the last couple of years. What was getting to the realisation that nobody knew anything about communication, and everybody thought they knew something about technology. So it was realising that you had to take some things back to basics and fundamentals that got us into some very interesting place.
So, are those things that influenced your ideas, those changes that were happening around you that you reacted to, in all that time, how many people who were in that situation can honestly say they knew what they were doing explicitly when they started on that path to introduce that innovation. You did, sir? You knew exactly what you were doing?
Yeah.
God bless you. Are you a lucky man? Anybody else? No?
Well, I can say we thought we knew.
You thought
But it's
you
changed.
found out. Okay. And so, does the term experimenting with innovation, experimenting with new ideas, does that ring true to people? Do you find that that's something you had to do? Well, I'm glad you say that, because to me, having gone through, worked in a number of businesses and done this a number of times, I find the journey from idea, oh, that would be that on a skiing trip, those guys are doing something interesting, I'd like to do that, to reality, now, do I get paid? Yeah, I find that to be fraught with danger. Okay, I think that journey, and in some cases it can be a very small journey, or a very short journey, but it can be fraught absolutely with danger, because stuff happens that you didn't expect, and you have to find your way through quite a lot of areas that perhaps you didn't see when you started. And of course, what you find in trying to get this balance between the risk and reward of innovation, risk seems at sometimes much bigger and much scarier, even though the reward can be cute and attractive, as this little cartoon. And sometimes, just sometimes, that single point stops us from innovating. It slows our enthusiasm. It causes us to worry. It makes us think, maybe we should just keep doing what we know we're doing, because, that's safe. And that can sometimes bring us, into a kind of paralysis. Anna talked about looking at, using different models and different filters. And I guess all of us have done this at some stages. When you get that kind of great idea, or you've seen someone do something, or situations changed that you're going to react to, you kind of do all the traditional things of getting, those great business models out and trying to fill in the boxes and think about, well, does this make sense? Have I thought this through? Have I thought through all the elements? And that, that sheet now for creating a new business model, that's really helpful. There are lots of these, Porter's 5 Forces, all these sorts of things. You try and build comfort in deeply understanding what you're doing. And then you probably realize, I don't. But you carry on. And maybe then you go and look some other places, to find out, what's happening. You talked about Twitter, going out, throwing something out there, looking at what other people are doing, going on to LinkedIn, asking some questions, using all the online sources to build yourself that comfort, am I doing the right thing? And you put these things together and you try and make sense of the situation and build your confidence that you've got the right idea and you can go forward. But actually, you never really learn. You never really know till you start doing it and you start getting things wrong. And then you've got that decision, haven't you? You've got that point that says, should I carry on or should I stop? Should I go back to where I was or should I move forward? And I guess that's the kind of pivotal point. That's the moment of truth for innovators, where they're going to take the point of saying, no, I'm going to do this. That's where Spartacus steps up and says, I'm Spartacus. No, I'm Spartacus. No, remember that movie? Everybody said they were Spartacus. You wondered, well, who is Spartacus? But that's where they kind of stand up and say, no, we're going to do this anyway. We're going to go, because we believe we're right, and we have enough information. And that's where I guess we could treat innovation a little bit more like science. Any scientists in the room? Anybody in science industry, scientists? Okay, you know, okay. Well, I'm sure my wife is a scientist, and she always tells me that it's not about getting the right answer the first time. It's about learning from the mistakes you make while you're going through experiments, while you're working things out. It's about the stuff you learn on the journey that makes all the difference to the outcome that you receive and how well you learn on that journey. Does that ring true for you? In the application of science. So if we could think about business like science, if we could learn to experiment in a much more scientific way, perhaps we could do that with a little bit more assurity. But it's never easy, and it's scary.